Hey, it's your friend Christiano, and welcome to the Queer Quest podcast. Welcome, my beautiful queer family, to another episode of the Queer Quest podcast. I'm your host, Christiano Green, transformation coach, founder of Queer Quest, and your soft place to land when the world feels too loud. Today's episode is one I've been feeling into for quite some time, because we're not just talking about bricks and bees. We're talking about belonging. We're talking about path and heartbeats. We're talking about the one question so many of us carry. Where do I actually feel at home? And in true queer fashion, our answers are never simple, but they're always sacred. So this episode is called Queer Homes and Heartbeats, Redefining Family, Partnership, and Domestic Life in 2025. So grab a tea, cozy up, wherever you are, grab your notebook, and let's dive in. And of course, if you get value out of today, which I really trust that you will, then can you please do this episode and the podcast a huge favor and help boost it to others in the queer community by liking, commenting, sharing, tagging, subscribing, or reviewing us, as this is more than you may know towards getting this episode in the hands of the queer people who truly need it most. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's jump into the first point. Why the old scripts never fit us. So let's start with the obvious truth. The traditional model of home, the nuclear family, the white picket fence, the couple, the kids, the mortgage, was never built for us. And for many of us, we didn't just opt out, we were exiled from it. We were kicked out of homes, forced to hide who we were in our childhood bedrooms, told our futures were broken if they didn't look like marriage and babies by the time we're 30. But here's what's magic. We turned that pain into possibility. We made our own families. We learned that family is not biology, it's loyalty, it's energy, it's chosenness. So we stopped asking for a seat at their dinner table because we built a whole new fabulous table. Painted it rainbow, lit the candles, invited our trans siblings, our kinky friends, our soulmates, our ancestors, and we made home into a foundation, into a spell. So in this episode, we're going to explore why partnership and domestic life are being reimagined, especially as we move into this next phase of our lives. How queer people are crafting homes that reflect who we really are inside authentically, and the emotional, spiritual, and even economic realities that we're facing in doing so. So I want you to take a breath here, because if this topic feels tender, you're not alone. For many of us, home has always been a complicated word, maybe even a dangerous one at times. But I want this episode to be a space where we actually get to reclaim that word, where we queerify it, where we remember that home doesn't have to look like the world told us. It can feel like you. So let's move on to the next point, which is the rise of queer relationship structures. So let's talk deeply about relationships. For decades, queer people have been expanding what love looks like. And in 2025, we're seeing it even more clearly. There's the queer couples who've been together 10 years, but they live in separate houses and they love it. There's the polycule of bi people building a shared home, one of them co-parenting with their best friend. There's the non-binary person raising a child with their ex, who's still their platonic soulmate. We are queering what commitment looks like, not because we're against stability, but because we want authenticity over performance. That's right. We want authenticity over performance. So we're unlearning that monogamy is the gold standard, that partnership has to mean marriage, that you have to live with someone to love them, that being single means you're in waiting for the right thing to come along. So here's what we've actually learned instead. Love can be fluid and still be fierce. Friendships can be life partners. Autonomy is sacred. And family is who shows up for you again and again and again. Repeat that. Family is the people who show up for you again and again and again. Now, I remember a client of mine once said, I don't want a husband, I want a home. Remember that. I don't want a husband, I want a home. And so what they actually meant was they were looking for safety. They were looking for sanctuary. They were looking for softness, not necessarily a ring or a mortgage or even cohabitation. And that's the deep heart of this episode that we're talking about today, to separate the form of home from the feeling of home. So coming up in just a moment, we'll dive into queer solitude, the beauty of living alone without shame, and how co-living and chosen family models are reshaping the way that we define domestic life. Hey love, while I've got you, I want to gift you with something powerful, something I wish I had when I was cracked open and crawling through the mess of heartbreak, shame, and that deep ache of, why am I like this? If you've ever felt like healing is this confusing, invisible maze where you're just surviving one emotional breakdown after another, if you've been wondering, is something wrong with me? I want you to know, you're not lost. You're not broken. You're becoming. Most queer people were never given a roadmap for healing. We were taught to hide, to perform, and to shrink. We've been gaslit by religion, erased by culture, and taught to just get over it. But healing isn't a straight line, especially when you're queer. It's not just about feeling better. It's about coming home to your queer, radiant, whole hour self. That's why I created the Journey to Queer Healing, a free guide that maps out the 18 emotional stages of queer healing. It's not just theory, it's your soul survival map. You'll see where you are, what's next, and what's possible on the other side of the pain. This guide has helped hundreds of queer people realize it's not just me. I'm not behind. I finally understand what I'm going through. Download the guide today. Let it remind you, your healing isn't random. It's divine. Download it now via the link in the show notes. Or you can comment guide on this video or on any of my socials and I'll send it directly to you. And when you're ready to go deeper, join us for the Queer Comeback webinar. Let's make your healing sacred and make your comeback legendary. I'll see you on the journey. Now we are back. Let's jump into the third point, which is living solo but not alone. Let's talk about something that often gets overlooked in queer conversations: solo living by choice. This was me for close to a decade of my life. Now, there's a kind of quiet power in choosing yourself, in having your own space, in not coupling up out of pressure or fear or the myth that you need another person to be complete. More queer people in 2025 are solo nesting, not because they're lonely, but because they're sovereign. Now, I know for some people, this might not be a reality because of, the cost of living, but there are still people who are focusing on how they can do this for themselves as well. So let me be clear here. Queer people living alone are not missing something. They're often gaining clarity, space, self-regulation, freedom. They are creating homes that reflect, just their spirit, from the incense that they burn to the music that they blast at 2 a.m. if they like. And I want to say this directly to anyone listening out there who feels like being single is a failure. You are not waiting for life to begin. You are already living it. And your space is sacred. Whether you share it or not, it's your choice. Now, I also want to shout out those who are living solo, not by choice, but because of estrangement or disconnection, and still finding ways to anchor into home. You are not alone. You are part of a wider web of queer resilience. So let's move on to the fourth point, which is about co-living, chosen family, and communal futures. Quite the opposite of what we've just been talking about. So, of course, on the flip side, let's really talk about chosen family, households, and queer co-living. Because while some queer folks are really truly thriving solo, others are gathering together and saying, let's build this life together, no romance required. This could be for a number of reasons, and it could be a fantastic thing for you to think about. So what do we see? We're seeing best friends buying houses together, polycules renting entire floors, intergenerational queer collectives sharing costs, sharing cooking, sharing care for each other. We're seeing trans siblings moving in together to feel affirmed 24/7. How powerful is that, eh? We're also seeing the aging queer folks co-housing to avoid isolation as they get into older age. Now, these models are truly beautiful, not because they're trendy, but because they speak to something ancient and innate. And that is, we thrive in community. We certainly do. I think most people understand that. Not everyone does, though, but so many of us thrive in community. Queer people have always built homes in the spaces between the rules. So think back to the ballroom houses. Think back to activist collectives. Think back to couch surfing in your early 20s when your friends were the only safety you had. Chosen family isn't just poetic, it's practical, it's economical, it's survival, and it's sacred. Now, I've had moments where living with queer friends truly saved my life, not just financially, but emotionally. The late night kitchen talks, the dance breaks, the tears, the shared meals, the sense that this is home. I can be who I am. I am being seen for that version of me. And you know what's wild is? Sometimes those moments, those weird, those messy, those unstructured domestic moments are the most healing ones because no one's performing, no one's pretending, you just get to be. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to be exploring how queer folks are healing from domestic trauma, how we are reclaiming home as a nervous system safe space, and how we can express identity through the aesthetics of rituals at our home. Hey babe, quick moment before we dive back in. I have a question for your soul. Have you ever felt like you lost yourself somewhere along the way? Maybe it was the breakup that shattered you, or the years spent hiding, bending, blending just to feel safe. Or maybe it's the quiet ache that whispers there has to be more to this life than just surviving. Well, I want to invite you to something that's not just a webinar. It's a comeback, a queer one, a sacred, fabulous, F the rules kind of comeback. It's called the Queer Comeback Webinar. And inside, I'm sharing the 3 secrets every queer soul needs to know to come home to themselves, unapologetically, spiritually, powerfully. This isn't about fixing you because you're not broken. This is about remembering who the F you are. If you're tired of dimming your light, people pleasing, or playing small just because of society's judgment, come. This is your moment. Not someday, not when, you're more ready. Now. Tap the link in the show notes or just comment comeback and I'll send you the link. Reserve your free spot now. And if you're multitasking right now, pause this video for just 1 second and do this for you. Your comeback isn't deserved, it's overdue. I'll see you there, my love. So, we are back. So let's start with point 5, which is about healing from domestic trauma. Let's get into something that lives under the surface for so many queer people. The reason home feels so hard to talk about, because for so many of us, home was where the first wounds happen. The kitchen where you were told to change your clothes. The bedroom door you locked so no one else would see your true self. The hallway you tiptoed through to avoid being punished just for existing. The moment your parents said, "Not under my roof." So when we talk about redefining home, we're also talking about healing the parts of us that never felt safe in the first place. Many queer folks are learning how to make homes safe for the nervous system, for the feelings, for the emotional side of us. Now that might mean soft lighting, a corner altar, noise-canceling headphones, a mirror you can actually look into without flinching, a no-apology playlist you dance to when no one's watching. We're reclaiming home as a space that soothes, not threatens. And for those of you still unlearning survival mode in your living space, I see you. Home doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to be yours. Now, there was a time I didn't decorate anything, didn't put art on the walls, didn't light candles, didn't let myself land. Because deep down, I didn't believe I was allowed to be comfortable. And healing, to me, looked like saying, this is my space. My body gets to exhale here. My identity gets to expand here. And my queerness gets to bloom here. So if you've ever felt like you didn't deserve a beautiful home, I want you to know you do. Not because you earned it, but because you exist. Let's move on to point 6, which is identity through aesthetics and ritual. Now, let's talk about the queer joy of turning a space into an altar of your identity. Have you noticed how many queer homes are bursting with thrifted finds, glittery art, affirming books, plants named after pop stars, all of mine are, by the way, crystals, vintage ashtrays, neon signs, protest posters? That's not just decor, that's defiance and desire. That's identity written across space. That's a radical artistic claiming of space in a world that told us to shrink. We're creating environments where our queerness isn't just tolerated, it's centered. The way that we decorate, the music we play, the photos we hang, the colors that we choose, all of that is a love letter to the authentic seller. And let's not forget the rituals. Lighting incense while you journal, singing in the shower like it's a stage, cleansing the room after a breakup, putting your phone in another room, just choosing rest and alone time. Ritual makes home feel sacred. And queer people, we are natural ritual makers. We find the divine in the everyday. So, coming up in just a moment, we're going to close this episode with a look at queer housing justice, the economics of home, and how we move from survival to sacred stewardship in the spaces that we create. Hey, love, before you go, I need to tell you something important. You weren't meant to do this healing journey alone. You weren't meant to figure out your queer identity, your purpose, your healing, your worth in silence. So if you've been listening and thinking, I'm ready, I want to transform, I want to live fully, I just don't know how, this is your sign. This is your queer comeback. Welcome to Queer Quest Pro, a revolutionary 12-month journey of queer healing, growth, and transformation in every area of your life. From your mental and emotional health to your spiritual connection, purpose, finances, identity, relationships. This is your full circle evolution. We guide you month by month through the queer wellness wheel of life with workshops, live coaching, quests, rituals, and a global community of queer souls rising together. It's the place for woke queer humans who are ready to rise unapologetically. Because healing is hard, But healing in community, that's sacred. And baby, you deserve sacred. Are you ready to live a life that actually feels like yours? Click the link in the show notes to join us now. Doors are open. We're waiting for you inside. This is your comeback. Don't miss it. We are back, and on this last point, which is about housing justice and the queer economic realities. So let's zoom out for just a second, because while we've been talking about home from the inside out, we also need to talk about access. Housing justice is a queer issue, full stop, because LGBTQIA plus youth are 120% more likely to experience homelessness. Trans folks face ongoing housing discrimination, even in so-called progressive cities. Many queer elders are aging without partners or family support. Queer artists, BIPOC creatives, disabled queers are priced out of gentrified safe spaces. So while we can talk about queering the home emotionally and spiritually, we also need to get real about the systems that are making it hard for us to even have one. That means supporting queer co-ops, fighting for tenant rights, decriminalizing survival behaviors, funding queer housing initiatives, creating more opportunities for queer people to own, not just rent. And here's the truth. We don't just want safe housing. We want sacred, sustainable spaces that nourish us. That's why we must fight for queer land back, queer sanctuaries, queer living ecosystems where we aren't just surviving, we're thriving. Home is not a privilege. It is a human right. And for queer people, it is also a form of resistance. Every time we create joy in our living room, every time we kiss our partner at the front door, every time we light a candle and whisper, I belong here, we are reclaiming the world. So in closing, from house to home to heart, what makes a home? It's not just walls or furniture. It's not whether you live alone with 10 others or with 3 dogs and a rotating cast of lovers. It's whether the space knows you, holds you, lets you rest, lets you rise. It's whether you feel like your full queer self, unapologetic, alive, and allowed to exhale. So whether you're building a co-op or painting your solo apartment lavender or nude, whether you're living nomadically or in your dream house, whether your chosen family sleeps under your roof or texts you every day, know this. You are not too much to be housed. You are not too weird to be welcomed. You are not too queer to create a life that feels like home. You are home, and your heartbeat will always guide you there. Thanks for joining me for this beautiful episode. Now, you can check out the resource section in the show notes below for some free resources that have helped many queer people take that next step on their own healing and growth journey. If you're interested, you can also check out QueerQuest Pro, a 12-month adventure that will shift your entire perspective on queer life in 2025 and beyond. Now, if this episode spoke to your heart, share it with your chosen family. Drop a review and let us know in the comments below, what does home mean to you? I'm going to see you next week, fam. Until then, keep queering, keep healing, and never forget, you belong here. Always remember, you've got this, I've got you. Bye for now.